What's up, Fortnite? It's the one, the only. Sticky Basket. In my time, I've had a few rough weeks. At my first real job, I remember my boss saying, "It doesn't matter how much you love your job, bad days happen." He also said I would one day sit on my family jewels. Both predictions came true on the same day, oddly enough. Things rarely get easier as time passes, but the good and the bad comes from being able to keep going. A line from the poem Invictus is, "Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed." If in the face of adversity you quit, that is the only time you really lose, because no matter how much worse for the wear you may become, the adversity will quit first as long as you keep going. Stanley Spadowski said it best. Sometimes you just have to take what life gives you, because life is like a mop, and sometimes it gets full of dirt and crud and bugs and hairballs and stuff, and you gotta clean it out. You gotta put it in here and rinse it off and start all over again. And sometimes life sticks to the floor so bad, a mop, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You gotta get down there like with a toothbrush, and you gotta really scrub, because you gotta get it off. But if that doesn't work, you can't give up. You gotta stand up. You gotta run to a window and say, "Hey, these floors are dirty as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore." And scene. I've been asked a few times why I don't swear, which I've found pretty funny because I swear quite a bit in my day-to-day life. While I don't look down on swearing, I prefer to present myself as composed. There was a time at a burrito shop that as the waitress brought out everyone's drinks, she spilled water all over my front half. Instantly, as my boys were seated to safety, I shot out of my chair and go, "Oh shit!" Less than a second after exclaiming, I look at the waitress, apologize, and begin using napkins to clean up the water. The lady seemed to go into shock over what just took place, but soon began using a dish rag and picking up a lot more water than I could with napkins. She later told me that she was sorry and I had no reason to apologize because it was her fault the water spilled, so I responded that it was my fault I swore. While vulgarity has become more commonplace in recent years and rarely do people get offended by its use, different backgrounds create different perspectives on swearing. Some see it as disrespectful to the self for allowing emotions to inhibit one's own self-censorship, while others see it as disrespectful to others for exposing them to it. An old saying, "My ears are not a toilet for your potty mouth," captures this view perfectly. In day-to-day life, I don't really worry much about it, and I do alright, but when I think about who I'd like to become in 100 years or so, I can't help but be old-fashioned and want to use illustrative speech that isn't confined by the boundaries laid forth by the use of vulgarity. I guess it would be a goal, but it's so far out that it's not likely to happen anytime soon. To call someone a troglodyte, though, is better than to call them an asshole, and while both serve the same function, the environment it is dictated in is much more versatile with one than the other. And scene. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is an interesting game, to say the least. While playing, I was captivated by the composition of beautifully drawn sprites, the sprawling, interconnected map full of detailed environments, and a soundtrack that pulses it with an exciting pace. The narrative was another high note, drawing you into the story of a girl named Miriam, who was an orphan offered up to a ritual that would bind her with shards used in the alchemist's summoning of demons as a means of restoring faith in the mystic arts over sciences. Many who were subject to the process would die, but the two who survived were Miriam and Jeeble. Miriam fell into a comatose state for a period of 10 years, while Jeeble fell victim to the brainwashing of the alchemists and aided their cause, but survived the sacrifice and wrought havoc on the Alchemist Guild, where a demonic tower appears from the remnants 10 years later, and that's where the game begins. Miriam awakens and now must find a way to save her childhood friend using the powers bestowed by the demons she slays while fighting through the castle. This game is presented as an homage to the Metroidvania style of older games, while maintaining a modern approach to the overall fighting mechanics and weapon progression. Throughout the course of the game, I first had difficulty with the bosses, then with the game crashing. It didn't have much to do with the graphical intensity, but it seemed like technical things, like walking up a staircase and getting caught in the same position as a light switch being held between the on and off would be. Then this happened. Oh, what the hell? And that's about where I stopped recording. Probably won't need that save spot. Before, I was able to figure out if I jumped on the stairs, the game wouldn't crash unless I landed in limbo. And because I could work around that, I was fine. Much like when I lit a paper towel on fire and burned a hole in my dad's kitchen, there wasn't a real excuse this time. Overall, I enjoyed the game when it worked, and mostly when I wasn't banging my head against a brick wall of a boss. But the blood running down my forehead as I killed them left me feeling like I had achieved something. Well, except this one.
But...
Aw, you gotta be yanking my chain right now. And while I died a lot, I got an ending I suspect was put in as a cruel prank for not reading into the derivative puzzle-solving aspect of re-exploring my surroundings as my character gained more mobility. And at the end of the day, I don't have all day. And scene.